Big changes to be made to the personal statement in 2025, and yes, a lot of people are freaking out. But before you panic, take a deep breath. It's not as scary as it sounds. The content you'll be writing is still all about you, your reason for applying, your career goals, and your academic journey. But what's changing is the format, and that might actually make things easier. Stick around because I'm breaking down exactly what's changing, what's staying the same, and how you can smash your university application in 2025 and beyond. So let's start with breaking down exactly what a personal statement is and the purpose it serves in your university applications. So traditionally, a personal statement would have included things like your rationale for studying the course, your interest in the new subject if it's something you haven't studied before, all of your skills, talents, and abilities that make you the perfect candidate for this course, and also things like work experience or other projects you've undertaken aside from your curriculum. When you're writing your personal statement, and this applies to the old format as well as the new one, a key question for you to keep in mind is, how does this information show me as the ideal candidate for the chosen course that I'm applying to? The personal statement is really an opportunity for you to express your personality and your motivations and your unique passions for the course. So it really is a great time to express yourself and also to show off all of the achievements and the extra studies that you've done in advance of application. In terms of how the personal statement is used, every university does have a slightly different approach. And so we can't really say that there's one way or one percentage that the personal statement will contribute towards your overall application. Some universities will use it as a check between students who might be quite similar in other aspects. For example, students who have pretty equivalent grades or are performing similarly on admissions tests. The personal statement could be used as a way to distinguish like passion or motivation. Sometimes universities will use it as an additional way to round out a profile about a candidate, to find out a little bit more about you and about the work that you've done in preparation for your application. But overall, it's fair to say that the personal statement does form an important part of your admissions journey, and you can really think of it as the first personal experience that you can make on the admissions team, a chance to talk to the university directly. So let's get into the changes for the personal statement this year. The central change is the change of structure. From the free-form personal statement that we had in previous years, where it was basically just an opportunity for you to write in any way that you wanted, 4,000 characters and 47 lines of text about you and your motivations, to a new format, which is sometimes referred to as a scaffolded structure. This is 3 main questions that will help guide and support your writing so that it falls under 3 main headers. The first question is, why do you want to study this course or subject? The second question is, how have your qualifications and studies helped you to prepare for this course or subject? And the third question is, what else have you done to prepare outside of education, and why are these experiences useful? The overall character limit remains at 4,000 characters, but each heading has a minimum of 350 characters. So later in this guide, we're going to be talking about how to answer each of these questions and the type of content that you might be including for each heading. But first, let's look at the rationale for the changes, because that might give us a little bit of insight into what Ucas is doing here with this switch in structure. Based on the Ucas announcement about these changes and on some related student surveys that Ucas performed, we could break the rationale down into 3 different components. Number 1, for the student, and you might be watching this as a student, good news, the changes are designed to make it easier for you. So Ucas actually performed a survey where they looked at the stress levels of students when it came to compiling personal statements, and they found that yes, people are finding them very stressful to compile and to write. And so in order to make it easier, more streamlined, and just more simple for you to compile this information, these headings are intended to do that. The second thing is from the university perspective, Ucas are really trying to support comparability, which means it makes it easier for admissions teams who are looking at hundreds of these personal statements to figure out exactly which student might be best placed for this course. And the third motivation is a little bit more of a high level or an overall motivation, and this is to make the process fairer. So Ucas have a real determination to support equality in the process and also to make the personal statement quite an accessible way to show off your motivations, your passions, and your achievements. So instead of someone having to write an entire essay, and they might not have had that much essay writing experience before, or they might not know how to structure it, these questions are intended to just make things a little bit more simple and really give everyone an opportunity to express themselves. We're going to get into those questions in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But to address the main question, what has actually changed apart from the structure? Well, in terms of the content, you might be seeing quite a similar sort of themes or similar ideas as you would have used in the previous personal statement format. However, there are a couple of changes or shifts that might be relevant to you as you're drafting. Number one is that it's really clear that you must write about your motivation and your passion really at the beginning of the personal statement. Now, most people would have done this in the previous personal statement format as well, but it is very clear now that 350 characters at a minimum must be dedicated to talking about why you want to study that course or subject. And so you can see really how important this is to start thinking about your own motivations for the course, about your narrative, about your journey so far. These are really fundamental aspects of the new format. One other interesting aspect is in the third question. So this talks about experiences outside of education. In the previous personal statement format, you might have just listed off a whole range of supercurricular or extracurricular interests without really linking them to why that's relevant for the course. Now it is very clear that Ucas require you to make the link between things that you're doing outside of your studies and actually why that is important for your course. So I think this will really help students figure out, what is the link to your motivation and your passion? And again, just bringing it all back to that question we talked about right at the beginning. How does this information make you a really good fit for the course to which you're applying? So let's get into the first question now. What is your motivation for the course? So the question is, why do you want to study this course or subject? Ucas here in their guidance talk quite broadly about knowledge and passion, and then they break down 3 separate headings which could be quite interesting for you to use as drafting prompts. The first one is motivation, the second one is knowledge, and the third one is future plans. So let's look at each of those in turn. When it comes to motivation, some of the best ways to express this are to give personal, genuine, and authentic examples. Remember, storytelling is a really important tool in your personal statement because you are essentially trying to capture someone's attention with the narrative or the connection between your passion and the course. So some examples that you could use here: things that have inspired you, events that happened in your life that made you think like this would be a great connection to a new subject or a new passion or a new interest. Role models or people that you've spoken to. Maybe you know someone in a particular career or field of study that's really inspired you to study it, things like that. Remember though, if you are telling a story about something that happened to you, you must make this link very clear between the story leading to your motivation, leading to the particular course to which you're studying. And be specific. Remember that there are hundreds, if not thousands of people applying for similar courses. So what really makes you stand out? The second heading that Ucas suggests for this question is knowledge. And this is a topic that we would normally describe as supercurriculars, which is essentially work that you do, normally academic work or study, that you do over and above your existing curriculum. Now, this is really important if you are applying to top tier universities, so Oxford, Cambridge, Russell Group universities. They will want to see evidence that you have gone over and above what would be normally expected of you as a student and to show that you've developed a genuine passion and connection for the course. Supercurriculars could include lots of different things, often reading lists. So it's really important that if you're applying for a subject, you check the admission pages of that university and you see if they have a reading list up there already. They often do. They definitely do for Cambridge and Oxford. So if you're an Oxford student or an applicant, please do check out the supercurricular resources listed on both of those websites. But often there will be reading lists for other universities as well. So definitely check out the admissions pages. As well as further reading, this could be things like podcasts or webinars, or it could be attending a lecture, or it could be attending a course or doing some training in a particular field. With these kind of supercurricular discussions, there are 2 main things that you're trying to show to the university. Number one is that you have a really good understanding of the course. Now, this is actually a little bit more important if you haven't studied the subject before. So let's take the example of law, which is my specialist area. For law, a lot of people have not studied that at A level. So you're doing an extra step of trying to show the reader that you actually understand what this course is before you commit 3 years of your life to studying it. And this is also the case if you're studying things like finance or blended degrees that you wouldn't typically be studying at A level. The second thing that you're trying to prove is that you have a genuine passion for further study. And again, this is something you can demonstrate by showing that you not only are doing your A levels and you're sticking, or your international equivalent, and you're sticking to your curriculum, but you're actually going over and above the requirements because you are dedicated and passionate about studying. This is kind of a two-way street as well, because not only does it show the university that you have this genuine passion and interest, but it's also important for you as the student because you are about to dedicate a long period of time and a high level of financial resources for most people to study these degrees. And so it's really important to figure out, what do you actually care about? Are you interested in further study? If so, how can you demonstrate this in your personal statement? The final heading that Ucas suggests within this first question is future plans. And this is kind of your discussion of what you might do with this degree in the future. Now, for most people, this will be important to include a few lines on what you would like to do with your degree going forwards. So let's say you're studying English and you really want to become a writer or you want to become a journalist. It might be really important to include a couple of lines about that as part of your general motivations. If you are studying a highly competitive academic degree, let's say you're studying something like law at Oxford or Cambridge, it might be a little bit less important to talk about specifically what you want to do with that degree. This is because those degrees are focused on the academic study of law, so not necessarily linking it to a future career as a lawyer or anything else, but really on the academic degree itself. So your primary focus should be talking about your passion and your interest in the academic study of that thing. And then you might also want to include maybe a line or two about future plans if relevant, but your focus primarily is on the academic discipline. The second question is, how have your qualifications and studies helped you to prepare for this course or subject? This is traditionally where you would have talked about your current subject selections and how they relate to your future university studies. So if you're studying English or history or maths, you might have said, these subjects have given me a level of understanding in problem solving or analysis, and this has really helped me develop the skills that I'll need for my future geography degree or something like that. So you're making the link between what you're currently studying and what you'd like to study in the future. This is going to be pretty much the same in the new structure according to this Ucas guidance. So they would like you to make a link between what you're currently studying and how it links to your chosen course or subject, how it's prepared you in practical ways, and also some high-level transferable skills, so things like motivation, determination, commitment, problem solving, analysis. Ucas also suggest here that you include any other educational achievements. So this could be things like prefect, or if you have a head student position at your school, things like that. It could be essay competitions. It could be academic awards that you've had within school. It could be any particular achievement that you've been awarded within the context of your current studies. You might also include other educational related pursuits here. So if you write for a blog or a school publication, if you've spoken on a podcast about your interests in a particular subject, anything like that that would be educational related, but specifically in relation to an achievement or an accolade, those can go in here as well. The third question is, what else have you done to prepare outside of education, and why are these experiences useful? So here we're really talking about the extracurriculars, and here you can really see the difference between the supercurriculars and the extracurriculars. So supercurriculars would traditionally be associated with your motivation and your understanding of the subject. We'd probably be discussing those up in the first topic, although you could also bring them down into the third question as well, if that feels helpful. But really what Ucas is getting at here is things that you've done to prepare outside of the context of education. So this would be more traditionally associated with the extracurriculars. So Ucas is suggesting that this section will be highly personal to you, which means that it really will depend on what has happened in your life and the things that you've experienced and the things that you've done outside of education. These could include things like work experience or placements or internships. They could also include things like hobbies, so sports, music, drama, any other associated creative passions. It could include positions of responsibility. So, for example, if you're the leader of a club, or you founded something, or you created something, or you have responsibility for something outside of your educational studies. And Ucas are also suggesting that you might want to include personal life experiences in here. So this could be things like becoming a carer or overcoming a personal situation in your life that taught you certain skills like motivation, determination, and resilience. A couple of things to note here. It is still really important that you make the link back to your chosen subject and to you as a potential candidate for further study. So if you're talking about a personal life experience, it's not just a random story. It's actually a story that has taught you certain skills or abilities that are then helpful in your university journey. Remember also that if you are a candidate applying to a highly academic course at a very competitive university, The absolute focus will be on your ability to perform at that academic standard and your genuine passion for the subject. So as much as you can, if you're talking about these personal experiences or extracurriculars, linking them back again and again to your ability as the candidate for this course. So how do you go about putting this all together? There are lots of tools and templates on the internet where you can play around with different formats. My suggestion is that you just open up a blank page of Word or a blank sheet of paper and you write down a list of absolutely everything that you can think that could be relevant to include. So this is everything about your chosen subject, your passion, your interests, your motivations, books you've read, things you've done, achievements you've had, and you list them all out so you have them in one place. Then what I would do is go through and separate them out into those 3 headings. So you're going to have one block of text or block of information that's for your motivations, a second one for your education, and a third one for like extracurricular studies. Remember that you can move things around. So these 350 character minimums are going to be relevant. So if you don't have enough in one section, you might want to move things from another section to that section. Once you've started drafting, you can then get rid of things that you don't feel are relevant. But my advice is that you make a list of everything first, and then you can cut down from that rather than trying to build it up the other way. So there isn't a huge amount of university guidance on the new format, although you should definitely look for your chosen university's guidance to see if they've published something. Obviously, by the time this video comes out or by the time you're watching this video, there might be new information out there. So please do go and check by Google searching or checking on the admissions pages of your chosen universities. Right now, we do have some guidance from Cambridge and LSE. Cambridge says that, of course, there is a strong academic focus on the personal statement, and this remains the same in the new format. So remember, if you are an Oxbridge candidate, the primary focus is on your academic performance and your academic ability. LSE takes a kind of similar approach actually and says that 80% of your content should be between questions 1 and 2 or on that kind of information. So again, this shows a clear preference for the higher tier universities for a strong focus on your academic achievements, on your motivations, and on your studies as well. And finally, we do also have some guidance from the University of Portsmouth, who says that the primary focus should still be on why you, as the applicant, should be offered a place at that university. And so again, this comes back to the central question we talked about at the beginning. All of this information needs to be looked at through the lens of why am I the ideal candidate for this course I'm applying to? So what else is staying the same, apart from all the structural stuff we've talked about and the motivations and the reason for you applying? The other thing that's the same is the quality of your writing. So definitely don't think that now because you have these headings, it can be more scrappy or it can be less refined than you would have done if you were writing a full kind of personal statement essay style. The quality of the writing itself is extremely important. And so you need to make sure that your writing is error-free, that it's grammatically correct, that it's structurally sound, that it flows and it sounds good when you read it on the page as well as when you speak it out loud. It's really important to remember that the reader of your personal statement is reading hundreds of these personal statements, and they've probably already read 10 personal statements that are quite similar to yours by the time they pick up yours on whatever given day they read it. So your job is to make it not only compelling and to capture their attention, but also to make it engaging, like a narrative, or you're telling them kind of something personal about you that really sticks in their minds and makes you stand out as a candidate. So a final note is on AI, and now this is such a big topic for students of today because AI is going to form a big part of your lives and the educational process as we move forwards with the development of these technologies. Should you be using AI to draft your personal statement? So the answer is actually not no. We might think that the answer is you shouldn't use it at all, but actually Ucas are recommending that you could use it, but only for things like research, for kind of helping you find out more information, maybe for helping you find some structure in terms of what you're drafting, but definitely not for generating your entire personal statement. The Ucas rules on plagiarism are clear, and therefore it is very important that you do not use AI to generate parts of your personal statement. The Ucas rules on plagiarism are clear, and therefore it is very important that you don't use AI to generate parts of your personal statement. This is because AI will generally draw on existing resources. So if AI offers you parts of a personal statement that are already published on the internet, this will definitely be a significant risk for plagiarism. You might also choose not to put your full draft into AI, even for the purposes of spell checking, because there are some privacy and confidentiality concerns around the use of these tools and how they use information going forwards. So you can always use a spell checker on things like Word or another word processing tool. Just aside from plagiarism concerns and concerns about privacy, There is also a concern about the personality of the personal statement, which should be unique to you. So if you're using AI to generate ideas about personal stories or about motivations, this is not really authentic or true to who you are. And really the most important thing when you're talking to your university about what you want to do with your studies in your life is to talk about something that is unique and authentic to you. So I would spend some time really thinking about like what it is that you care about, why you care about these things, what kind of motivations have developed throughout your life and where they've come from. And then that will give you a really good foundation for drafting. So I hope you found that information useful. And as you get started drafting, we're going to leave you with 3 central questions to help you with your process. Number 1, how does this information show me as the most suitable candidate for my chosen course? Number 2, have I clearly demonstrated an interest and passion for my chosen course? And how have I shown that I've developed that passion? And number 3, would an admissions team member reading this personal statement immediately understand that I have a good comprehension of what this course is and that I have a passion for studying it? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do like and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop a comment below and we will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. If you have a friend who's also drafting their personal statement alongside you, please do send them this video. It might be helpful. If you do need any support or guidance on your admissions journey towards your chosen universities, please do get in touch using the information on screen. We have a whole team of consultants here who are extremely experienced in every aspect of the admissions process. And as always, best of luck with your applications.